Good morning. It is day 4, number 193. So, like, we're human beings, right, Frank?
Oh, dude.
Are you a human being? I don't know. I see you draw some stuff. You don't really seem like a human being. We're human beings, Frank.
We're
And
human.
sometimes
humans make mistakes.
Just as seems to be the case on in professional bass fishing these days. Things don't always go as smoothly as hoped.
No, they don't. And I will be honest with you. I am struggling with some technology today, boys and girls.
So I'm like good at clicking buttons if I know what buttons to click. I'm not good at telling other people what buttons to click.
Correct.
Or understanding why those are the buttons that need. Long story short, Frank and I are both at about a 7 out of 10 on the annoyed scale. Yeah. Because we're trying to figure out how to do this multiple screen. Like, I would venture to believe that 100% of the Day 4 BTL listeners have been in the position that we are both in currently right now, just in our overall countenance and annoyability level, Frank.
Yeah, I'm up there. So here's the thing. So I have a pretty cool deep dive planned out today, and so I'm trying to go.
Look, boom, there it is. We're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about it. So I'm trying to go between the deep dive app, which I'm actually learning to love a lot, and
it's pretty badass.
It is, and a map.
So deep dive is not integrated with Navionics yet. No. Long story.
It's a long story, but just say
did we do a show last week? Yeah, we did a show last week.
Yeah.
So last week after the show, we're screwing around, and we've got and you didn't use the deep dive app last week, but you were like, hey, I want to incorporate the contours and then the exact spot on the map with the deep dive app. And I don't know how the hell we did it, Frank.
When we did it like that.
I could toggle between screens so easily. Like, I could go deep dive app and then boom, but except instead of just me and you, it would be contours. So when you go anyway, long story short, Frank and I can relate to those that struggle on the regular basis, because I mean, we get to do the greatest thing in the world, Frank. You get to paint lures, we get to talk about bass fishing, we get to help you get to help others catch bass. I mean, heck, we have a schedule for the Bassmaster Classic coming up, noon on Saturday,
12:30 on Saturday,
12:30 on Saturday, where people will come meet you.
Oh yeah,
because you help them learn how to catch fish.
And we're going to be signing stuff to give away too.
Yeah, you will. So long story short, we got the best gig in the world. Doesn't mean we don't get annoyed sometimes.
True.
Just like I feel like professional bass fishing is right now. It is wild.
Dude, I can't keep up with it. I legitimately, I'm trying to follow all this.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched your shows, got it. You explained it very well. You did all of that, right? So literally I'm trying to get a grip on it, because I wanted to touch on a few things, not make the whole show about it, but I wanted to touch on a few things, right? I can't follow it.
Makes your blood boil? It makes you...
Yeah, because I'm confused, because I don't understand why. We're going to go down a wormhole.
No, I don't want to go down a wormhole. Today we're talking one of the most popular crankbaits on earth, right?
Yeah, and today I'm talking about I'm talking about shallow water crankbait fishing.
Yeah.
Shallow water crankbait fishing is one of the most effective bass fishing techniques ever. We all know it. And so we're going to get into that, and I'm going to show you what I look for, especially this time of year.
I like it. Hey, I got an idea.
All right.
Let's put a 5-minute timer on it. And we're going to get all of the frustration for the technology and the fatigue of trying to figure out what's going on in the professional bass fishing world out of our system. We'll cleanse the palate.
Is that like
Frank, when was the last time when you went, well, oh God, you're Italian. I forgot that. You're probably very familiar with between course palate cleansing sorbets.
Absolutely. I was just going to bring that up. I was going to say, okay, we're going to do a orange sorbet to cleanse our palate, or a lemon sorbet.
So I feel like it would be, is the word cathartic?
Dude,
what is cathartic? I don't want to misuse that word.
Do not misuse the word.
Purging or cleansing. Yes, I feel it would be cathartic to briefly opine on it, because I feel like that. God, I'm not intentionally using these words. I feel like that's where a lot of the angst this morning is originating.
You are so using them on purpose.
But after that, hard transition, an hour of
deep diving
with shallow crankbaits and maps and stuff like that. So 5 minutes, go.
Okay, so I tried to follow all of this nonsense that's going on, and it's drama. I mean, it's drama. You know, dude quits the elites, bails, pulls his stuff off his boat. I'm out. I'm done. No information rule. And here, I'm gonna just tell you something straight up, okay? I don't know if I would pass a lie detector test, and I don't freaking cheat, okay? But all I do nonstop, day in and day out, is talk, eat, and sleep fishing.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I do, okay? So when my son and I travel together, fish together, that's all we talk about is fishing. So and in today's game, there's a lot of anglers where their sons are following in their father's footsteps, and the father wants to communicate with the son, because that's what we do. We talk about fishing all the time. How could you say, well, you're not intentionally getting information, but from what I heard, hopefully it's not one up north like it always is. Well, that's not anything. That's nothing. You know what I mean? It's nothing. And then another guy blatantly breaks the rules and then gets a fine. So how does one guy get disqualified? One guy gets a fine. I mean, all that has to happen to clean this mess up is keep it consistent, keep it simple. That's all they have to do to clean this garbage up. And I mean, if you go to any sport on any level, all sports people talk about the sports they're in. How can I throw a baseball harder, faster, get more movement on my off-speed pitches? It translates in every sport. If I tweak my golf swing here, if every sport, they're competitors. They play against each other, and yet they still talk about it because that's what they're into. So I don't see how this straightens out unless they dumb down some of the rules and create a level penalty platform. Like basketball, you get a few techs, you get a tech 2, you get fined, you get kicked out of the game.
I sent an email to Bass about that to the PR department as a media member, not as a disgruntled open angler.
Right.
And have not. This was pre Scott Martin DQ. Did not hear back. Would you like to hear just a little portion of that?
Yeah, do it, because I heard something, but I didn't research it. In all honesty, I was.
This is just a portion. I wasn't going to read this on air, but I mean, it's been 2 days now. I haven't heard anything back. I said, should I say? Yeah, I'll say his name. I said, was Jaden Parrish given a polygraph test after Bass was made aware of the rules violation on February 18th? If not, does Bass have a statement explaining why he was not given a polygraph test after breaking the rule? Also, the press release states, because the results of the violation did not impact the results of the competition, he was not disqualified from the event. However, in the official 2025 Bassmaster Open rules, I was fined anywhere where intent and impact were differentiated. Does Bass have anything in writing on this that I can refer to?
Very good. Very good.
We're at 5 minutes. I can tell you're doing, like, I'm doing the same thing. I'm sitting here just popping my pen back and forth because it's a sport we love so much. And you also have to be careful what you say, because I try as best that I can to follow what I know is factual, what I can back up, which comes from the organizations or comes firsthand directly from those anglers.
Correct. And here, look, I'm not a talking head, and I could voice my opinion, but it's only an opinion. It's not a fact. And I don't like to speak until I actually have the facts.
Mm-hmm.
I was just a little irritated with all the drama that's been going on lately, because I think it diffuses the beauty of the sport we do. I don't want to see anything take away from, the professionalism of our sport. And I do the air quote thing because the professionalism in our sport, since it's an individual sport, only comes down to the individual. And therefore, this is where it all comes back to the
what is the I'm not going to use that analogy. I got an analogy. It has to do with, like, late at night you take home a 10 and then you wake up to a 2. That was the analogy I was going to use. I didn't use it. Just something about those lines. And I feel like that kind of happened this past week in professional bass fishing.
That's called alcohol poisoning.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk.
Let's talk fishing, Frank.
Let's talk fishing. All right. So here's the coolest thing. So you guys know that I'm struggling. I'm struggling with the forward-facing sonar game. Not struggling to do it, because I can flat out do it. I'm struggling with conventional or live scope. I'm either all in on one or all in on the other one. Well, I like conventional fishing wisdom. I like how it has an order to it, how it follows the seasonal patterns, how bass movement, bass behavior is semi-predictable with the conventional wisdom of how we grew up fishing. Okay. Having the live scope on my boat while I'm conventionally fishing is a bonus, because I'm not out chasing roamers. I'm actually looking at the contours and the structure that I'm fishing. Mm-hmm. And to me, that helps immensely, especially if I'm meandering my way through a drain or a ditch. I can stay where I need to stay to make the appropriate casts. Okay, that whether I'm Carolina rigging, football jigging, or crankbaiting, my presentation is now almost flawless, and it's putting more fish in the boat for me. So when I was doing this shallow water crankbait episode, the reason that I'm doing the shallow water crankbait episode is because the Bandit 200 and 300, they just put them in my FX colors. And I was excited about it because the Bandit bass side of things hasn't had a facelift in a while. The FX colors play really good into it, because that they change how they look in the water, predicated on water color and water condition.
Same colors that are in the Rogue.
Same exact colors that are in the Rogues.
Oh, you told me this. I thought we were really just going to hammer home the point that Bandit had khaki back. I didn't know that this is where we were. Like, I just pulled this up on the site.
Yeah, no,
okay, the khaki. You were on a train of thought.
Khaki came back by popular demand. They had so many people screaming to bring it back. They brought it back, but that was done while these baits here were being made.
Okay, sorry, I completely interrupted your train of thought.
No, not at all. So
keep going.
So with the
and now I've got a cramp in my hip. Oh man, I'm definitely 40. Hold on, I gotta stand up. Keep going, Frank. Man. Oh,
you hit a button, dude.
I know, we're good. Hold on, I gotta stand up.
Don't hit the buttons, man. So anyway, so with the 200s and the 300s, this is the perfect shallow water combination, especially this time of year during the, right before the pre-spawn and the pre-spawn. Of course, depending on what lakes you're on, will depend on what areas you're going to do this in. So I started working on this. All right. And then I said, well, the weather's been kind of goofy in a lot of places with heavy rainfall where we're at runoff, snow runoff, et cetera, et cetera. So then I said, holy crap, the deep dive app would be perfect because I could see wind direction, water clarity, everything I need to find. I can find on the deep dive app, and then I can get on my Sonar unit mapping chip and I could look at the areas. So here's the deal. Okay. I'm going to tell you how I got to this point on the maps before we get into it. So, you know what, Matt, pull the deep dive app up for a second. So on the deep dive app, what I have in front of me is I have the chart with the wind direction on it.
If this doesn't go flawlessly, there's a good chance you're going to get to watch someone throw an iPad live.
If this doesn't go flawlessly,
I'm in a deep dive app. We're talking just about the technology.
Right. So, okay.
It's like a frisbee.
So I looked at this area because I like the main lake. I like the main lake. It has a tendency to be a tiny bit more predictable. And so when I was scrolling through the map, here, I got to take this pen off. So when I was scrolling through the map, what I do is I just start looking at the map. And basically what I'm doing is I'm looking all around for things. Okay. So I'm doing that. And this jumped out at me. This spot right here jumped out at me. And I'm going to show you why right now. So we have all of this. Why is my pen not writing?
I don't know. It should be.
Yeah, it's not.
There you go. Try it now. Oh, it's because it's in white. Put it in like red.
There we go. So we have all of this going on right here. All right. So we have the way the land goes in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. I know for a fact there's something going on here. All right. I know for a fact. So what I wound up doing was when I got to this area, I went to my, I turned on my Lowrance unit, pulled up the map and looked at that area.
Do you want to try to do that really quick?
Oh God, help us all.
I'm going to remove that. Well, that's important, isn't it?
It's but I drew it in case this didn't work out.
Okay, well, we'll just stick with the drawing because I don't know anybody who doesn't love a good old-fashioned Frank Scalish drawing.
So I drew, go back to the map. I'll show you the part that I drew. I'm
going to try something.
Go ahead. Ooh, he's doing something. But it's not working out here. I don't know what you're doing, Matt.
My audio was also removed. But if I remove myself, then I can have you with your map and the deep dive map at the same.
No, you could just.
But you're running the show. I got no audio then, but I don't talk for like 10 minutes.
Just make it small. Anyway. Make it small so you're part of this thing. So what I drew is this area right here. Oh, you need to put the deep dive app back up there, bro. So what I drew is that area right there. And so I went in and this is what I got.
I'm kind of proud of myself. I was able to
Why is my deep dive map is up on my screen?
Yeah, so it's up on the screen for the show. So you can have the deep dive app and the land.
Which I just ran my foot over with my dang chair. Okay, so this is what I drew.
We are a mess this morning.
Yeah, this is not going as planned. All right, so anyhow, so this is so when I got to the map and saw all these contours, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is perfect because I have a nice steep structure. I've got a defined drain that goes all the way up. I've got high spots. on big flats. I even have a point underwater here with a good flat over here. And of course, everything on the perimeter of this, it's all spawning areas, main lake spawning areas. All of this is okay.
That's that spot that you drew.
Yes, that's that spot that's this spot right in here. Can you see my arrow?
No, because you have to use remember you have to use your iPad.
Okay, so
circle exactly where that the contours that you drew are. Okay. Perfect.
They're right there. So that's what you're seeing. Okay.
Okay.
And so here's I'm going to go into some mistakes that I see tons and tons of anglers make when they're shallow crankbait fishing. Okay, one of the biggest mistakes that guys make is they'll roll over fish in transition, especially this time of year. They roll over them in transition in a big hurry to get up to these spots here, the shallow stuff that they could see, because you could see a lot of the debris you're casting to. And everybody knows that the bass are feeding on these shallow flats. That's where the active fish are. But they're rolling right over the transitional bass that are staging all out here before they slide up to the flats. Okay. So we're going to really easy. We can fix these mistakes with just a couple of little tweaks, and having a simple shallow crankbait approach is the best approach because it's not complicated. It's totally not complicated. And realistically, the only thing you have to have when you do this, a 2D sonar, good mapping unit, couple of 200, 300 bandits. That's really all you need to do this. So we're going to go into what we're going to look for, okay? Because there's only a few things you need to look for. Oops, I lost my pen, but I got it. So, okay, so the first thing you want to look for is you want to look for a defined drain or a ditch. All right. Now, remember from the last episode, drains are active, ditches are inactive. So drains will have runoff water.
Okay.
Ditches usually don't. They're not connected to.
Can you show on the deep dive app? Can we use the water inflow to show this?
Yes, 100%. Go back.
All right.
Okay. So we're back on the deep dive app. So
here, I'll try to go full big screen with it.
You know. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So if this, whoops.
And then you should be able to. That's just tilting it. So you should be able to do the wind effects off and do the inflow that shows the difference between drains and ditches.
Yes, I can. I'm shutting it off now. So I'm going to go in here. Let's go into water inflows.
Either water inflows or stream flow.
So you see how.
Yeah.
All right. Now I got to get back to my deal here. So you see how. You see how this. Uh-oh.
Can we restart?
Yeah. So I'm trying to get my pen to work. There we go. So you see how. Gosh dang America. So you see how this goes right here. This is very active.
So that update, Frank, which we'll have to do after. Guess what that is?
I don't know.
Tide charts.
Oh my gosh.
So now you can toggle the lower to higher flow rate at the bottom. You'll be able to toggle tide charts. So we'll have to update that after the show. Anyway, back to the show.
So anyway, so you could see we've got a lot of activity in this area also. Okay. So all right. So now I'm getting lost in my map here. All right. So anyway, I'm going back to where I was, which was wind, because I like this one a lot. So if we were to fish, how do I get rid of that stuff on the bottom?
You don't.
Okay, so if we were to pick to fish this today, these are current conditions. All right.
Yep. It's blowing northwest 7 miles an hour.
So we see how the wind's pulling off the bank over here. We see how the wind's pulling off the bank in these areas here. So we know that all this stuff here is going to have some form of wind protection to it. All right. We don't want a lot of wind protection, but there's enough, and then there's enough wind where it comes real close to the shore where you see you're starting to get your getting windy again. Okay. This is going to position the fish for you. All right. So let's leave the deep dive app and go back to this. All right. So in our map, and I'm going to open a box here because I actually have my Bandit box that goes in my boat here. So I'm going to open this up. I'm grabbing myself a bait, and hopefully it doesn't hook on everything. Okay, cool. So, the difference between drains and a ditch. My wife left me in a ditch and drained my bank account. Oh, I wish I could say I've never been there before.
I've never been there. Well, yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying to get the glare out. Okay, so
no, it looks fantastic. I like the.
All right, so
I like it.
I have my 300 Bandit, and what I'm gonna do is, I got to talk about what we're looking for. Okay, so we're looking for ditches and drains. You guys know that, a drain is active, a ditch is not. But in drains, the creek channels are going to be way more defined because they're active. Okay, so you want to make sure, and hopefully there's hard bottom on those areas. Either the flat, you'll have a flat on one side, high spots on the other side of the drain or the ditch, and that's what you're looking for. Hard bottom areas. My shallow depths, I usually look for 2 to 6 feet range. On the shallow side, 6 to 12 on the deeper side. Even though I know I'm not getting this Bandit to 300 down 12 feet because I'm throwing it on 12-pound fluoro. So I'm probably going to get it down 9, 10 tops, but that's where I want it. Okay. So I use the 200 Bandit. Let me grab a 200 Bandit. I
am very impressed though. You've got an iPad, hand drawing, headphones, 3 or 4 different programs pulled up, and you're slinging around Bandit 2 and 300s with EWG hooks on them with reckless abandon, and we're all learning. So Frank, I commend you. I think we all give you a round of applause for today's show.
Oh, yeah, hooray. I didn't know this was going to be this difficult. So anyhow, so here's the deal. So I'm going to approach this area. I found it. I found the wind direction I wanted. And on the deep dive app, the wind was coming off of this area. So I'm going to have wind over here, but it's going to be relatively stable over here on the, where the hell am I going? On the flat over here. Okay. So I'm excited because that the bass are feeding on the flats. Those are actively feeding bass, but I'm not going to slide over the important stuff because this is going to put more bass in my boat, and the bigger females will stage out in these areas. So I could conceivably run up here and catch a lot of 2-pounders. I can fish out here and catch a handful of 4s and 5s. So you don't ever want to slide over, especially this time of year. You don't ever want to slide over that transitional area. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to take my 300 Bandit. Okay. And when I get to tight contour lines like this, we all know that the tighter the contour lines, the sharper the break. This is something that I'm going to parallel with. Right, where on the point over here, I'm going to cast both sides of the point, this way and this way, and then I'm going to cast over the top of the point, because by casting over the top of the point, I'm getting my bait to go from deep, bounce, 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 up on the shallow side of the point, and then back down the other side. A lot of times this could trigger the bite. Okay. So it could trigger the bite. So after I touch in, after I get all my my staging areas covered, my deeper staging area covers, that's when I go to the 200 Bandit. Now the 200 Bandit, I throw it on 12-pound line, and I can run it in 2 feet of water as easily as I could run it in 5 or 6 on 12. I stick with the 12 because I like the way the bait performs with it. It gets tricky when you're in heavy cover with it, like stumps and real craggy boulders. You got to be, you got to finesse it through the stuff because you don't have the pound line to really just tear it through. The Bandit 200 and 300, they'll work with 14, they'll work with 17, but you're going to cut the depth down a lot. Like it's really susceptible to line diameter. So you're going to cut that depth down a lot by going heavier. And I'm using these two baits for a specific depth zone, and I want it in that depth zone. And that's how you do it. So when I come up here with the 200, when I come up on this stuff with the 200, this is easy fishing. I'll have my boat on the break and I'll be casting up to the high spots. I'm going to handle it exactly like I'm going to handle the deeper contours, only now I'm going to do it on the shallow. So when I approach this thing, I'm going to cast across the high spot, but I'm also going to use the shallow ridge line too, where I can fish the shallow break, the ridge line. And this is how you cover water. Like you could go through this area right here super easily, Carolina rig, football jig, or a wobble head, and a 200, 300 Bandit. And I could walk out of here knowing that I've put every opportunity to catch as many bass in this area as I could just with that handful of baits. You don't need a lot.
Now, when you move up shallower like that, so let's go back to here, put the board down just for a second, give your arm a rest. And I'm going to bring in the deep dive app again. So that area, if you zoom in and circle again that area that we just broke down, and you can tell from the wind effects that that's calmer. Would you rather hit that? So if you go down on the bottom, Frank, where it says 8 a.m. today, on the stuff that's just below it, click that little arrow to tomorrow, and you'll see that the wind is going to completely shift in that part of the country tomorrow.
Yeah, 8 a.m. today.
Yeah, so click that little arrow on the right there, and it'll go to the next day. Then move the cursor, so you can actually look at the wind upwards of a week in advance. So
yeah,
you will know. So this is tomorrow at 10:20. Now you can see the wind is shift. It's blowing in, and then where the yellow is actually where it's hitting the bank the hardest. Are you more likely to slide up there quicker when you have more when you have a little chop on the water?
Well, here's the deal. This is going to change my fishing approach. This is really good. So
did I jump ahead on that, or was that something you were going to go into? But
no, we're good. We're perfect. So this changes my fishing approach. So if I know that I'm going out there and the first day, the wind's coming off the shoreline. This is when I'm going to spend a lot of my time on the structure that's out in front of
it. That was my question.
All right. So now we jump to tomorrow. And we got the wind coming on. Now, this is a different approach. Now I'm putting on a spinner bait, a chatter bait. This is when I'm going to be fishing in this zone right here. So now I'm going to be fishing in this zone right here. Because I got the wind activity, the wave activity. I've got all that stuff that's going to give me a very aggressive, shallow bite. So I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm not going to ignore our structural elements out here. I'll fish those, but now I'm going to go up in the shallow stuff first because the wind is playing it. So I'm going to play the wind, get the most bites I can right away. And then I'll work out. For day one, with the wind coming off the bank, I'm going the opposite way. I'm fishing the offshore stuff first. I'm going to fish the offshore stuff first. Then I'll work my way to the bank. That's how I would approach it. So the different wind days are going to give you different way to approach it. And with the app, it's really easy to see because any of the highlighted places, does the wind change where the fish are setting or just the direction they're facing? Well, bass will always face into the current because of their aerodynamics. But what the wind does, Okay, the wind creates the activity. Bait fish feed on plankton. Plankton drifts with the wind. Plankton doesn't necessarily swim unless it's zooplankton. But it drifts with the wind. So the bait fish feed on that. So the bait fish are going to all be pushed into that bank area when the wind's blowing on the bank. When the wind's blowing off the bank, the plankton's starting to come out. And so the bait fish are starting to come out. But this time of year, the bass also, they have two things in mind. They're going shallow to spawn, but they're not spawning yet. It's definitely pre-spawn and maybe before spawn, especially where we live, not so much in Florida and Texas and stuff. But so what happens is that's the bass are going to stay relatively shallow, because once they get where they want to be in the spring to spawn, they're not leaving that area. And when I say they're not leaving that area, they may pull on the bank and then pull 30 yards off the bank, but they're not leaving that area. So the key is, when you're doing your map work, you look for areas that have a lot of the structural elements you're looking for within a small confined area, because this will help you figure out the pattern much quicker. Once you figure the pattern out, you can run down the lake. Here, if you go back to the deep dive app, if you could run down the lake, and I can do this. I can run down the, I forgot to take my pen off. So I could run down the lake. Okay. Now the area that we found here, okay, the area that we found here has a lot of stuff going on in a very short spot, right? So now if we were to go down the lake, we could actually go right to here, and we would have another area over here that would have similar stuff going on, but it would be broken up into this section and broken up into this section. So we would essentially have two sections, and you could do this down the lake, and you could run down the lake and do this everywhere as you're traveling down, down or up the lake. It doesn't matter. You could even go on other sides. Like this is another good spot right here. There's a lot going on right here. You know what I mean? And then you could, so instead of having that one area that we started in, which I really like a lot because it's flat, it's got defined stuff. I really like that place a lot. But like, you could go into these areas and they're miniature ecosystems going on. They're all miniature going on. And if you look at this one, it's going to have stuff going on in here. It's going to have stuff going on here. Dollars to a donut, because of the way the current goes, the structure is going to wind up running like that on it.
So I don't think you even know about this. So hit the home button on the deep dive app, Frank, on the bottom underneath there where it says home map dates, and then scroll up and keep scrolling all the way to the top. So there were guys that were asking questions about that. So there's your current flow, the actual current flow, and then there's your lake level as well. So what you just talked about on those, you can look at that and take all that stuff into account.
Right. So I was actually gonna get into this. So the lake level is the top one in red. Okay. Yep. So it's going to show the lake levels starting to taper down, and your CFS chart is your cubic feet per second, which is below that. That's what gives you your water flow, how fast, how hard the water's flowing. Those are all very key ingredients, because as you know, you never see bass get caught in a puddle when the lake comes down.
I never have. You see those dumb catfish.
See them. You'll see a carp stuck in a puddle. You'll see a catfish
idiot
stuck
carp
in a puddle, but you'll never see a bass, because bass are always moving with the water. They're not going to get stuck. But knowing that, right? So we have our contours. Let's go back to this beautiful, crazy ass chart. So you have your contours, right? So as the water starts to decrease, the bass are going in the gut. All right. And they're pulling off the 2-foot stuff that might be almost bone dry later. And there's going to hang in this area over here. That's why I look for these places. As the water rises, bass do the opposite. They go shallow with the water. All right. So if you have an area that's a huge, giant, big flat and the water starts to rise, the bass can get away from you because they can travel huge distances as the waters rise. So if you're picking small areas like this, they can't get away from you. You got land here, you got land here. The pocket ends up here. They can't get away from you at that point. It's a steeper bank. You could tell by the terrain on the deep dive app, it's a steeper bank. The water's not going to go flooding into the woods. So these bass here are never going to get away from me. They're confined. And so it's just one of the tricks with conventional fishing to put every single possible advantage you have, because all we're doing is we're playing the game of averages. And we want to put every single thing in our favor that we could put into as an angler. And oops, get off of this, click that. I'm getting used to this app. It's taken me a minute, but I'm getting used to it.
Well, not the app, it's the navigation of the iPad. You had never even held an iPad this time 2 months ago, had you?
No, heck no. I don't even have an Apple product except for this thing. So I went back to our original starting point just so you guys could see the map better. You can see how the terrain is. These bass can't get, they're not going to get behind us. You know what I mean? They can't get behind us. I'll go back to today's win. And so I won't lose them in here. Where if I'm in a big creek and the back of creeks have these big giant flats in them and the water comes up, you could lose the bass. They could literally get you got a lot more practice time you need to put in to find those fish, when that water comes up. So I always try to find places that I can look at and have an advantage in multiple weather situations or lake level stuff that's going on. But this whole thing came about because of the 200-300 Bandit release. Because it's something like when I first started fishing Bassmasters, to be honest with you, if you weren't throwing a 200 Bandit, you weren't fishing. I mean, everybody had them. You couldn't see a bass boat without them tied on. So it's kind of funny how with the advent of some technology, certain techniques, I don't want to say go away, they're not as sexy anymore. You know what I mean? There's other ways you could catch bass. It's not as sexy anymore, and it's a shame because it's such a high percentage. This shallow water crankbaiting is such a high percentage technique.
Very cool with the colors on it, though.
Do
you have them there?
Yeah, I got my box for my boat.
Oh, well, my God. Let's see some of these FX colors in person.
Okay, so here's what I did. All right, so I'm going to move the iPad so I don't break it.
Wait a second. So Bandit has made a resurgence because they came out in the 1 and 200s in the Bone Cross series.
Correct.
Then they dropped the FX series, and in between that, they reintroduced a limited run of khaki.
Yes, because the guys were freaking out over khaki. And I used to throw khaki back in the day too. Gray color. I don't even know why it's so good. It's a very simple color and it's fabulous. It's just fabulous. So
Does that piss you off when simple colors smoke them?
No, because because the truth of the matter is I'm going to go through this box because I have old school colors in here that I will never be without. And they're the simplest colors on God's creation. All right.
Let's hit it.
So first we're going to go foil green. All right. In the Bandit series, this is as shady as it gets. Between foil green and foil blue, bait fish all day long, all the time.
Wait, that's not an FX color, is it?
Yeah, it's an FX color. All these are. I will tell you.
Oh, oil. God, golly, I'm such an idiot. I thought you were saying foil.
I might have said foil by mistake. It's oil.
Yeah,
oil green and oil blue. And then of course, we have Northern Lights, which I completely drew a blank on. Anytime I'm around spotted bass, smallmouth bass, I'm throwing this.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I have a couple of the Bone Series ones. I don't even remember what I named this one.
We'll be able to help you out on that.
Yeah, pull it up for me.
Violet Cream.
Yeah, Violet Cream. So the back of this thing has, I pearled the crap out of the back of it.
Great stripper name.
Right. So it really reflects good. It's got the gut bag, the solid gut bag on it.
Yep.
Where the rest remains semi-transparent. But I also wanted a hot color in case the water's off, or if there's a mixed, smallie spots and largemouth. So I put the chartreuse.
Violet chartreuse, yeah.
Next on stage number 2, put your hands together for Violet Cream.
Right, exactly. so you have to check out the FX colors 100% for sure.
Yeah, very cool. Same colors in the 2 and 300.
2 and 300s, and I went through my Bandit box, and I literally got rid of a ton because
really.
Yes, because here, this is the box I have now.
Okay, can you show some of the OG colors that you're carrying?
Yeah, they're coming out.
Okay.
This is the box I have now. All right. So here's the thing. I had a box twice this size, slam packed to the top with Bandits. And I said, okay, now that the effects colors are out, I can get rid of a lot of old time colors. And so I went through and I got rid of them. Now, the ones I saved, okay, clearly citrus, because I don't think you should ever not have a crankbait in citrus. So I have that one. And then the old Bandit standbys. Let me dig this one out. That I don't think you should ever have a Bandit 200 or 300. You have to have root beer chartreuse always, because I don't know what it is about this color, but I catch them on it everywhere, and regular root beer.
Yep.
You have to have it. You just have to have them. And so those stayed. And then this one is a sleeper color. All it is pearl white with a chartreuse back.
And that's an old color?
Yeah. Pearl
I've never
white.
seen that one.
Yeah, pearl white with a chartreuse back. Where the heck am I going here? I got to cover my light. There you go. It's just pearl white, chartreuse back. Don't know what it is about this color, but it has caught a lot of inland smallmouth for me. I mean, a lot of them, and spotted bass too. And then I'm going to do a couple shad colors that you have to have. Khaki being one of them, although I'm all hooked up here.
I keep waiting. As much as you mess with treble hooks and move quickly, I'm glad a lot of your baits don't have
This
them.
is Tennessee shad. This is Bandit's version of the Tennessee shad. This is a fabulous color. I never leave home without it. And here's an old school color. Hot chocolate. Oh, wait, is that hot chocolate? No, that's not hot chocolate. Hot chocolate right here. I'm going to get hooked today because you said
that's what I'm saying one of these days.
And then hot chocolate.
Yeah, standard. You're not that's just your Bandit 200. That doesn't include like the crawl patterns at all. These are all bait fish.
Yeah, these are all bait fish patterns.
Okay. I got
you. And that's my Bandit box. It's really simple. It's not complicated. And I was really happy when the FX colors came out, because that gave me the ability to get rid of some boxes out of my boat, because I am with all this forward facing crap. Now I got more boxes to add in the boat.
At the risk of upsetting the powers to be at Pradco and LureNet, what are your honest thoughts on the hooks that the Bandits come on? They're like the pear shape. They used to remember the
Yeah.
mustache triple grips that came out. Like, are you replacing those hooks? Are you throwing those hooks on them?
When I'm fun fishing, I leave the hooks on them because the
Okay.
hooks they put on them now, they're pretty good.
Okay.
But to be honest with you, the old hooks were no good.
They were like a bronze pear shape.
They were
mustad triple grip, I think.
Yeah, these ones are pretty good. They got good points on them.
Mm-hmm.
They're conical. They're not chiseled. They're cone shaped.
Okay.
You can't hardly lose a fish when you hook them on it. But in competition, I'm going round bend. I can't help myself. I got to throw a round bend on them. But fun fishing, I don't, and I hardly ever lose a fish. So, you know.
Have you ever thrown the Bandit walleye series in cold water? It looks like it'd be a really. I know this was not on your bingo card to talk about, but does that not look like a good cold water crankbait, Frank?
Oh, it's phenomenal, but it's brand new. It just came out this year.
Really?
Yeah, it was never available before. There's a there's a whole series of that bait, and it would be like can't tell me that one right there won't hammer the smallmouth, dude. That's a smallmouth killer. You can't even tell.
In addition to the realistic profile, our engineers designed a specific tic-tac style paddle for all three sizes to achieve perfect running depth, whether cast or trolled. 4 sizes increasing body size
and depth. So basically, it's a walleye trolling system.
Right.
The Bandit walleye shad. It's a walleye trolling system. So each bait is
on.
Yeah, that's like Wonder Bread.
I know, but give me a little stain on that and a spinning rod with some 8-pound fluoro around some pea gravel banks in the pre-spawn.
Dude, you could chuck that on a bait caster.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's not like throwing a shad wrap, bro. That'll cast.
I would imagine you probably haven't even had these on the water yet.
No, I haven't fished them yet. They just came out.
Am I tripping here, or does that look like a badass cold water, little shad wrap style? Except the Bandit.
No, I don't think you're tripping at all. Wait till the bass guys start throwing them. Now, some of the colors I would not throw for bass, but for walleye,
you wouldn't throw Wonder Bread
for bass. I don't know.
That's a no.
No, it's a no. I would definitely throw the perch in a heartbeat. I would throw the perch. I'd wear the paint off of that. That wouldn't even be bad. I see. I got some I could paint. That's not bad.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, that's a standard
that's
right there.
Bad.
I mean, that's pretty money.
But yeah, I mean, 100%. I'm kind of glad you took that detour because, yeah, I mean, that bait will have a place in the bass community too.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah. I'm excited to try it out, actually.
The people are never happy, Frank. You get them the FX colors in the Bandit. Nothing. You get them the FX colors in the Bandit. Now they want them in the Norman.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest with you. Originally, I designed them for Norman.
Dude, that's a brilliant move to throw those. I mean, I feel like I feel a Bandit resurgence bubbling up.
Yeah, well, that's the reason we did it. I'll tell you the truth of the matter is, Bandit 200, 300, even the 100. I say even the 100 because it's a square bill. So I kind of put the square bills in a different category because to me that's its own niche, the square bill. But the walleye market has taken Bandit to a level that nobody could keep up with. And so Bandit puts a lot of their efforts and attentions into the walleye market because it's just between the Bandit walleye deep and now these new Bandit walleyes, they sell. They just sell. Mm-hmm. So the bass side of it kind of got not forgotten about, but not a lot of new stuff in the bass world of Bandit.
Yeah. I mean, I remember back in the day, like the Bandit guy was Pete Pons.
Pete Pons, man.
Pete Pons was Mr. Bandit. Like we would go in, I mean, he had the rep, he had the baits, he had everything. Like that dude lived to catch a bass on riprap with a Bandit 200.
And dude, I'll tell you something. I know a pile of pros. He's such a good guy. And I'm not saying other pros aren't good guys, but I know Pete personally, and he literally is one of the nicest, most humble people I've ever come across. And he's a phenomenal dude, man. Phenomenal.
I got to know him well at not well. I got to know him at Kurt Dove's Pro Bass Camp for the week there. I obviously covered him back when he fished the Elite Series as well. And like you said, always a super nice guy. Comes across as genuine. The kids, love drawing him, getting in the boat. He teaches them cranking and fishing and stuff. Like a OG, like an old school dude, man. Like made it by grinding out 12-pound limits.
And he was a grinder, man. That dude fishes. We worked at Classic together not too long ago. And we had so much fun. We were reckless. I mean, we were screaming at people, getting them to come in and look at the booth. He's running out. He's going, "Get over here. You got to see this. Get over here." And I never saw that side of Pete.
Yeah. And I think Pete was there also pre Pradco Bandit, right?
Yeah, both pre and
post.
Yeah.
Clay, I'm the same way. Like I got a fish on my wall, Frank, and you see it every single time. I caught it on a Bandit 200, and when I was 17 years old at a Lake Taylorville, 9.4. He said I forgot how good they were to me. I had an ace up my sleeve with that Pearl Chartreuse back 100, and I stopped throwing it for no good reason. I did the same thing.
Yeah, well, because it became unsexy. It's not like I mean, most techniques fall out of favor because of another technique.
And I would also say back when I would say the heyday of the 100, its biggest competitor would have been the RC 1.5 in the square bill category, and the KVD 1.5 from Strike King.
That's late. That's late.
That's later. But I would say, at least in my instance, at the time, I could buy like 4 Bandits for one Lucky Craft RC 1.5.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. And here the Bandits run, dude. They run, and you beat the dog crap out of them, and they keep running. It's a bulletproof bait, in my opinion. And we did get away from it. Hell, dude, I've got 6. No, I take that back. I have 8 Rebel Craws in my boat. The D76 version. I used to throw them and wear the paint off of them, and they would become solid bone. And then I would just paint the backs brown and throw them brown and bone after I wore all the paint off of them. I don't hardly throw them anymore. And I don't know why, because I catch the crap out of them on it.
I do find it ironic, though. So we're talking about all these colors that they brought back, and my favorite color is a discontinued color.
Which bait?
In the Bandit. The Bandit 2 and 100.
What color?
Do you think you can guess it? I bet you can guess it.
Your favorite?
Purple haze.
Oh, purple haze, dude. They had a color. They had a color in Norman, very similar.
Why did they discontinue the purple haze? It was like a lavender shadish thing. It was, dude.
Did it have a little chartreuse streak on the belly? Very faded chartreuse.
I believe so. It smashed them at Thunderbird.
Don't know. Baits used to be discontinued, predicated on national sales. And so there's a problem with that formula, because if a bait slows down, a bait might not take hold in the Northeast where I live and be dominant Southwest. Right. You know what I mean? Like the C77 Big O up here was was a money crankbait for decades and decades. All my local tournaments and stuff that I fished here, there wasn't a angler out that didn't have a C77 Big O on, especially when they came out with the G finish and the Smoky Joe with the original plastic color, not the painted color, but the original plastic color. We all had them. We all had them, and we all threw them. But you get out of this region, and then they translate less and less and less. So what happens is, you know, you look at sales across the country, it starts to slip in certain areas, and they're like, okay, we're not selling enough of them, get rid of it. And that used to be the formula. And the problem is that if you're not going to upgrade colors every time you lose a color, add a color, you can't recoup the loss. And so what happened is the discontinuation slowed down. And so now there's a mainstay group of colors, but prior to this, keeping these core catalog colors, they were dropping colors like flies. Discontinue. And back in the old days, a lot of independent lure manufacturers, they could, like Bandit was one of them. Before Bandit was sold, the only way Bandit could keep in business was to just keep making new colors.
Yeah, I remember. So that's the closest thing I can find to it, Frank.
Yeah, that's almost like Norman's lavender shad.
That's badass. The little pink on the belly, and then it was like a faded purple on the back. So pink on the belly, not chartreuse.
The pink is a trick, man. The pink is a trick. I had some Bandit.
But they don't make that color anymore. That's the color.
Yeah, that's the color. They don't.
Yeah, that's the discontinue. I'm not exactly sure what the exact color was, but yeah.
But like the pink belly is something special. There was a dude that his name was Rufus when I started fishing the opens and the elites. Rufus was I hooked up with him, and he was a Bandit freak machine.
Rufus is a guy you don't move in on. I just feel like with a name like Rufus, you don't cut him off 50 yards down the bank and start flipping.
No, you don't. Absolutely 100% you don't. But anyway, so we had the Bandit root beer with the pink bellies. Ooh. And that was the trick back then, was getting the ones with the pink belly.
I've not even seen that.
Yeah, it was a short time. It had a short lifespan. And you don't mess around with Jim.
We didn't announce this or anything, but you want to give away a $50 gift card to lurenet.com?
Yeah, we could. Okay, so here's how this goes. It's not a contest. Mm-hmm. It's anybody who goes on LureNet and uses the BTL 25 code is automatically eligible. And then every 2 weeks, the computer's going to randomly pick somebody that used that code, and they're going to get a $50 gift card for LureNet every 2 weeks.
So is that starting like right now? That's starting right now. So if you
well, clearly we just made it start right now.
Okay.
But I'll take care of the logistics behind it.
Okay. It needs to be people who have used the code, like not from like noon today, but like, you know, like Sean sitting here going, you know, thanks guys, I got $200 in my cart. So like if we need to make sure it starts at midnight. Yet, you know, people who bought stuff during the show today don't get cut out.
We'll just have it started. You know, we'll have it started prior to today, a couple days prior to today. So don't worry about it. And then because it'll put them all in a thing, and there's a random program that they have that'll just randomly pick a name, and we'll do it every 2 weeks. What's the date today, man? The 13th.
Today's the 27th.
27th. I'm looking at the wrong month. 27th. All right, I'll have them start it a couple days prior to this, and we'll get it going. And then I sent the winners, the winners of the Normans. I sent you those out already. You got them already because you both responded. We got the rogues. We got pro rogues to a giveaway. That Matt
we'll
and I
announce that next week.
Yeah, because we're in the process of weeding down. We got such a good response. We're taking all the show ideas, and we're going to do that. Shut up with the Bandit stuff. No one needs to know. Why do you think I like the Time Bandit and Deadliest Catch?
You're giving away Brian's secrets.
Yeah, well, it's not a secret. It's just guys get away from it, man. It's not cool anymore, you know. In the meantime, I'm weeding down all my boat stuff, my tackle in the boat and everything, and I'm trying to condense all of it because I carry way too much tackle, and I'm having a problem, man. I have probably 7 or 8 boxes of crankbaits that I carry.
Screw it. Keep them in there. If it makes you happy, keep them in the damn boat, Frank.
That's what Frankie said. He goes, "What do you care how many boxes you got in your boat?
If it makes you happy and you like having them and it reduces your anxiety that you may need to pick up a crankbait that you haven't used since 1980.
But look, like all my boxes are labeled and stuff. You know that because when you see them in the boat and they're all stacked up. And I even label all 3 sides in case I have to vertically stack them. But yeah, I mean, you know, I guess, yeah, you know, the thing that's throwing me a little is the jig and minnow game. I'm trying to figure out the best way to store those. And
that doesn't take up much.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
I just took everything out of my boat. It's the only thing I've got in there
now. Oh, it makes life a little easier, doesn't it?
It does. It makes life something.
I can never, ever, ever do that. I could never do that. I my hat's off to you guys that do that, but I cannot resist fishing the way I know how to fish. I just can't resist it.
It's a good show today, Frank.
It was fun. It was crazy.
We started out a little
Angry.
A little hot under the collar, but we brought it back together. We had some good mapping. I'll put that link also for this show for Deep Dive. If you're watching on your phone, it's a downloadable app. It's like $60-$80 a year for the whole thing. For the premium, like the stuff that we're showing that has the water inflow and the wind effects and all of that stuff is the premium. Try it out for a month. You like it for the month and your fishery and things that you have it on there, have at it. If not, big shout out to Deep Dive. They're really trying to figure out how to get it in the hands of serious fishermen because there's a stigma around apps. I had it too. I've turned down a lot of apps for Bass Talk Live, you know, stuff with the phone. And this is the first one that I look at more as a tool than I do as a trending app.
Yeah. I was skeptical. I'll be honest with you.
And of course we're trying to sell it for them. I mean, that's the goal. They're like, hey, we think this would work really good with what Frank does. And I'm like, and I think once we show the features, it's going to result in guys giving it a shot who normally wouldn't give a fishing app a shot.
Listen, I'll be honest with you, with the up-to-date wind direction and the water clarity, it's worth it for just those 2 features alone. The fact that they keep upgrading and keep adding new things to it, it's money. The flow charts that you could see which drains are active. We haven't got into that a ton yet, but on a lot of the spotted bass fisheries, running drains are money drains because the spotted bass file into the small guts that are pouring water out over the hillsides. They literally pile in these things. And when I was on Smith, there was one day we got a big rain the night before the event, and all I did was run active drains. And so
this would have been handy.
would have been hugely handy, because on Smith there's a bazillion pockets and little crevices in the mountainside or hillsides, and I had to physically run to each one to see which ones were running. With the app, I could have just clicked on the app and looked at them, and it would have showed me the ones that were running. And so there's a lot of things. That's why I started to buy into this, because there's a lot of practical use here. And the other thing is, what I liked is they keep trying to add things to it that are helpful to the angler. And that's the other thing I like about it.
Now, some of the, like the wind and all that will be on different lakes. There's some features that are only on like the bigger bodies of water that you fish.
Well, yeah, because of the time consuming efforts that go into having an active app. You know, you gotta cover the main bodies before you can start getting to the littles.
But it's cool stuff. And appreciate the time they've spent working with us. Like I said, if I know what buttons to push, I'm golden. Not a great troubleshooter. And Deep Dive has done a good job. Good news for you, Clay. He hasn't really been a part of Deep Dive for the last year, so you're free to go.
That's okay.
What else you got?
Nothing, man. I'm just going to call the powers to be and get this $50 gift card going. You and I got to pick a winner with the Rogues. Remember the Classic. I'm going to be signing baits at the Classic too.
What are our times again?
Saturday 12:30 and Sunday 11:30.
Saturday 12:30, Sunday 11:30 at the Bassmaster Classic Expo, Fort Worth, Texas. Now, is there? I should ask this off air. Is there like a limited run giveaway like there was last year? I mean, you literally had 300 rabid day 4 fans in line to rub your head and get a new bait before they ran out.
Yeah,
like Lincoln's nose.
yeah, there is actually.
Really?
I could tell you what they're going to be, but I won't.
Tell me off air.
I'll tell you off air, but I want it to be a surprise.
But there will be a special limited run for those that are there to meet Frank on either Saturday or Sunday. Because last year I know we saved some, to make sure if you could only be there for each day.
Let me put it to you this way: it's not a special, like it's not a limited run of something I did just for the Classic.
Yeah,
I'm not.
But it's cool.
But it's cool. And I'm going to have Frankie with me to help me open all the packaging, because holy smokes, I can't open it all and sign everything and get guys in and out, But it was fun. I mean, I enjoyed talking to everybody. It was a great time. No
live Classic show. Live shows from the Classic are the definition of my nightmare.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Can you imagine logistically?
You're doing a show from an expo. You have to go through all of like the red tape to get your stuff in, to film that, to get a good signal. The signal's usually bad. The audio's atrocious in that building because you got people talking overhead. No one's watching the damn thing anyway, because the Bassmaster Classic is going on and it's live on all of the screens and stuff. You can't get it. It's just logistically 0% chance that I'm doing a live show from the Classic.
Oh yeah, there's no way.
Go watch the Bassmaster coverage.
There's no way.
What are we doing?
Is something I'm doing showing up on your thing?
No.
Oh, I'm just trying to shut this thing off, and I don't know how.
Whoa. Remember, we got to record right after this, Frank. We got a show for next week.
All right. Well, we'll have to redo it because I already X'd out of everything.
I mean, my level of help is just going, try hitting that and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything anymore. I have failed. I've failed the technological part of this program.
No, you didn't. You were fantastic with it. And it was strictly on the presentation side, not on the technology side.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
See how much happier we were in the final 7/8 of the show when we weren't weighed down
we weren't bogged down by.
When we weren't bogged down by rules, regulations, and the state of professional tournament bass fishing currently. Like, I mean, you literally, like the tide charts that are now available on the Deep Dive app, could see it rising.
Here, let me tell you something. Okay, so who the heck was I talking to? I was at Fisherman Central, had their fishing show.
They obviously gave you a T-shirt.
That's because I bought like $9 million worth of bait.
Wait, they didn't just give you one to beat Frank Scalish. That was one of those like the tackle warehouse deals where it's like, hey, you spent enough money for a free T-shirt.
Yeah, well, that's kind of how it went. But you know what? I don't care because I don't want something for nothing. So
Yep.
No big deal. But who the hell was I talking to? We were talking about the tides. Anyways,
what's up?
This Bama's back. Look at little Bams. Oh, this cat's mean.
Totally not impressed.
Not impressed.
Bama's eyes just were. She was not enjoying it.
Right. So for the life of me, I can't remember who I was talking about. But anyway, they asked me about, when I first started fishing tidal waters, whatever. Anyhow, so the first tidal river that I ever fished, I think in my life, was the Hudson River. And I had no clue about a tide. Okay. And we were up in the Catskills and it was like a 6-foot, 7-foot tide. So like when the tide went out, dude, it went out, like out. So, you talk about defined drains and ditches. That place had billions of them because the water was always rushing out, rushing in, rushing out. Anyway, so we talked about the Potomac. The Potomac's tide isn't relatively a ton. It's a small shift. But the tide's important because, incoming, outgoing. The outgoing is the best bite. The incoming is the second best bite. Ebb tides are tough, but you could still catch them. Blah blah blah. So we talked all about that stuff. So I said the worst tide issue I had was on the James, and they're like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I said, "Well, I ran up the back of this one creek arm as far as I could go, and it branched off into 4 fingers." And at the ebb tide, just before the tide started to flush out at the ebb tide, I had a buzzbait bite that only God could give you going on back there. And I had one buzzbait with a hook on it and I cut the hook off the other buzzbait. So I caught one bass and it was like a 3.5 pounder. And I picked the one up with no hook and I was blowing through this area as fast as I could fish it just to see where the bass were located. Okay. Because all I cared about was where were they located. So I didn't have to waste time. Anyway, I was excited. So then I went to the main river because I'm like, I got to figure a main river pattern out too, because when the tide goes out, I won't be able to get all the way up here. I don't know where the bass are going to go when the tide flushes. So I got to find something on the main river. So I start fishing the duck blinds. You know how the James is, Matt. There's duck blinds everywhere. So I started fishing these duck blinds. Well, I figured the duck blinds that were in the middle of the river were the better duck blinds. And so when I started fishing them, again, I was at an ebb tide and the tide just started to come out. And so I was able to run like 15 or 20 of these duck blinds, and the current was strong. So I had to go heavier on the slip sinker, et cetera. But the way the blinds were made, a lot of them had concrete bases that they built the blinds on so they would stay. And there was washout around these concrete bases. So there were depressions on the sides of the concrete. Anyhow, it was a beautiful plan until it wasn't. And this tidal thing, if I had that app, I would have never got screwed. So we get a torrential rain pour the night before. Morning of, I launch. Hey, remember Brian Schramm? He sings country music now. Remember Schramm? Matt, do you remember that guy?
Sounds very familiar.
Great dude. So I drew out with him in this one, and we knew each other. So we kind of we were kind of yucking it up. So in the morning, I peel off. I go way up this creek arm. I get there. The water's filthy muddy. I can't get a bite on anything I'm throwing. I slow roll a spinnerbait. I catch one. I get fooled. Okay, I literally get fooled. So now I'm chasing bites and I'm re-practicing up there instead of paying attention. I realize that I'm starting to feel the tide pool, and I'm so far up this creek that I don't know how much tide's out on the river. We got to go. I turn around, I bail, I run out of this place. I go to my duck blinds, and I'm running to this one duck blind, and of course I stick it in the mud. I'm like, oh my God, I'm 30 yards short of the duck blind and we can't move. I could never get to any of the blinds to fish them. I completely got my brains kicked in that event. So that title thing on that app would have been absolute money. Would have been so money. But I never made that mistake again, because after that I got the tide charts and got a paper map, and I planned my whole route out, so I never got caught with the tide after that. But geez, oh man.
I think we should do a structural element meme coin. And then I think we should put it on the cryptocurrency market. According to this article, 2025 is a great time to launch your meme coin in cryptocurrency. I think we do a structural element. We have everything that they're saying that you need to have a successful meme coin.
Okay, so basically what I just learned is I'm doing the show and you're researching things that have nothing to do with what we're talking about.
That has to do with the show. We're just bloviating at the end, and it just occurred to me. Occurred to me that I think Frank Scalish,
dude.
Like I could see two. I could see one meme coin that's kind of like the you with the curly hair that says "Get off my hole." Like that could be one, and then a structural element, a meme coin, and like Clay said, we could do a pump and dump on it.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. That's the problem in my world. That is too funny, man. Drunkwood.
I think we could really.
Only coin I need is AA.
I really think that we could make this happen. We would be like have the monopoly on the fishing industry.
I'm not hey dude, I'm not opposed to looking at anything. I'll look at all options for anything. You know that.
Didn't see that one coming.
I'm doing the show, Matt's not Googling shit. Hey, dude. Oh, look at that RVs. Oh my God.
Same place, same time. Next week's a recorded show. I'll be at Kentucky Lake, most likely not catching anything.
Oh, you're gonna catch them. Gosh bless America.
It's literally going to be blowing like 40 miles an hour with severe fronts coming through. It's going to rain 6 inches. The thing's already a mess, and the water temp's going to be in the upper 30s with about a half a cove of clear water, according to the Deep Dive app. It's going to be a nightmare, and there's a very good chance that we only fish 1 or 2 days.
Really?
Yeah, it's it's a massive front that's rolling.
Man, you don't understand.
One of the tournament days, it's like 44 mile an hour gusts.
Oh, if it's 44 on that lake and it's running the right direction, you ain't fishing. You aren't going.
Over under number of fines / DQs at the next open. 1.5 over under.
I'm gonna say under.
I hope it's under.
Guys are
I
going
hope it's
to
0. We should go all year, not have anything else happen. All right, this has been another edition today for the man Frank Scalish. Don't forget to use capital BTL25 on lurenet.com to get 15% off any regularly priced item, whether we talked about it today or not on the show. Frank, you're going to be working to make sure they got that dialed in to where from the time you're listening to the show every 2 weeks, if you order anything off of LureNet using the code capital BTL25, you're automatically entered into a $50 LureNet gift card, which we will announce every other week moving forward on BTL.
Correct. And it's good because it'll just be a code number that you'll plug in and it'll automatically credit your account $50.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you're not going to win a physical card. You're just going to get a number.
Yeah. How'd you do that? That was impressive.
Huh. Yeah. Wow.
All right. Same place, same time next week. We'll talk to everyone then.
Adios, guys.
See ya.